love boba tea so much. It's 1,000 times better than Starbucks. First of all, there's way more kinds of drinks to get, and literally dozens of flavors to choose from. I can get milk slush one day, then milk tea the next, or I can opt for matcha, or any number of flavors that Starbucks wouldn't have. However, my favorite part has always been the chewy tapioca bubble bowls. However, this all changed very recently. It all started on my way to my usual boba spot. That's a 5-minute walk from my house. I would go there every day, and it was the only place I could ever say I was a regular at. I knew the barista that worked there, but on this day, I didn't see any of the usual staff. Instead, it was some man behind the register, 20s, wore glasses, face plagued with acne, and his braces were holding together rotting yellow teeth as he smiled. He looked so gross and smelled like he hadn't showered in weeks. So to see him standing behind the counter where people order drinks was baffling to me. At the time, it should have been the lunch rush with people sitting at every table and a line out the door, but I was literally the only customer in there. What I should have done was follow the lead of everybody else who must have walked in, saw that creep working, and walked right the hell out. For some stupid reason though, I decided to get a drink anyway. I went to the counter and started looking up at the menu. As I was looking at the menu, the guy kept giggling and laughing like a little creep. He was doing it so much the entire time that I started to think he had that uncontrollable laughing condition like the new Joker. More likely, I figured he just idolized that Joker so much that he was trying to emulate him like all the other incels. It was really distracting and unsettling, but I eventually made my choice.
Have you decided what you'd like to get?
Yeah. I'll get a honeydew milk tea with extra boba, please.
Oh gosh, extra. Is that okay?
Yes, that should be fine.
And what flavor was that again?
Honeydew.
Oh, well, are you sure you wouldn't like the coffee flavor?
No, I'm pretty sure I want honeydew. Thanks.
What about the cocoa bean add-ins?
Huh? What even is that?
It's a personal special. It takes a whole day to make. Sometimes faster if I drink an extra cup of coffee.
No thanks. I'm good on that.
Are you sure? It's a real blast of flavor.
Just give me my goddamn honeydew flavor, all right?
Okay. Allow me to get some tapioca pearls for you.
Sure.
Once I paid without tipping him, of course, I sat down and waited a few minutes while he disappeared into the back room to make my drink. It took him longer than the regular baristas, and they would usually do it in front for me, but I was fine with not having to look at him. Finally, he came out and handed me my drink, still giggling like a total weirdo. I immediately noticed the cup looked awful, like it had expired ingredients or something, but I decided I would just take it and get out of there. Just as I was turning to leave though, I noticed that there was a full container of boba right there on the counter. I was even more suspicious of him then, but I didn't want to sit there and press him about it. I just left the shop and started walking back home. I felt so excited to have my drink after having to deal with that creep. So I stabbed the straw through the plastic film right away. Then I put the straw up to my lips and started to drink it. I wasn't even after the taste. I just wanted to chew on those delicious little tapioca pearls. But the second I bit into one, I knew it was horribly wrong. The mushy, gritty texture of it, then the repulsive, putrid taste that filled my mouth made me drop my cup and instantly puke. I was eating globs of shit. I collapsed, choking and puking over and over again. I struggled to get back on my feet, but running home was the only other thing I could try to focus on. I was vomiting over my shoulder the entire way home. When I finally got there, I begged my family for help. I could hardly get any words out, but they finally helped me clean out my mouth as best as we possibly could. Once I could finally compose myself and tell my family what happened, we called the cops and had them arrest that creep who took a shit in my boba. Ever since then, I've been traumatized by the mere thought of eating boba. It used to be my favorite thing in the whole world, but now it makes me sick to my stomach just talking about it. With therapy, hopefully I can recover, but to this day, it's like I still can't get the taste of shit out of my mouth. This story was inspired by a disturbing incident regarding a 19-year-old barista who was now in custody and facing charges after he defecated in a boba. The 19-year-old barista is now facing charges after questioning. The suspect allegedly told police that he served a boba tea with feces because he was quote-unquote bored. He is now facing jail time, being charged with tampering with food and reckless endangerment. I work at a boba shop. I work the closing shift from 3 p.m. to midnight. The place gets busy for a few hours after 5 p.m. on weekdays and stays busy all day on weekends. Customers come in many shapes and sizes, from students to young and grown, couples on cheap dates, influencers filming trendy little videos, all the way to freaks who are either addicted to the flavors of milk tea or who are just after the boba balls. Lately though, the place has been dead as hell, and it's entirely thanks to the summer. The nearby schools are closed, so students have no reason to come around here. And since lots of people are trying to slim down, they are cutting back on sugary drinks. My boss actually laid a bunch of people off here since there's less business, but kept me around since I've worked here for longer than the other staff. Once the opener leaves after I get there, I'm literally the only person working. To kill time, I tried to find whatever little chores and tasks to do. However, one night, just as I was about to close the shop, I was met with the creepiest sight ever. I looked up from the register and saw a gaunt, freakish-looking woman standing right outside the door, staring at me through the glass. She was smiling as much as her mouth could manage, yet her eyes were dead. It was like Momo had come to visit the shop, daring me to make her a drink. Not wanting to anger her by lying or locking the door in her face, I waved her in, saying,
"We're still open."
She opened the door and walked through, slowly approaching the counter. Then she gave me her order, while maintaining that lip-splitting smile.
"Give me milk tea with a lot of boba."
Something in the way she spoke gave me chills. She was adamant that I gave her the most boba possible, but I didn't understand just how much that meant to her. I went back and made her drink, filling her emotionless eyes watching me the entire time. When I finished and handed her the cup, nothing could have prepared me for her reaction.
Hi, here you go. Is everything okay with it?
No! More boba! I want more boba!
Okay, you can have more.
Get back there and make me another drink!
My hands were shaking as I started making her second drink. I grabbed a cup and threw a huge scoop of boba in it. The woman kept screaming for more, so I put in another scoop, then another, but it was never enough.
More! Give me more!
Eventually, the cup was full all the way to the top, but it was still too little. I had to push down and press the pearls together to make more room. The cup was filled to capacity, not leaving any room for ice or any ounce of liquid. I then sealed the cup and handed it to her, having no idea what she would do next. I watched in disbelief as she stabbed through the film with her fingers, ripped it off completely, and then held the cup upside down over her gaping mouth. First, a few clumps of pearls from the last scoop came out. Then a literal brick of tapioca slid out of the cup and plopped into her mouth. She stood there for a few seconds chewing on it, but then eventually swallowed it whole. She then dropped the empty cup on the floor and left, leaving me to clean up the insane mess she made. I was so afraid after I closed that I ordered an Uber home instead of taking the bus. At the end of my next shift, the same thing happened again. She returned at the last minute, coming in every single night, always requesting for more boba, and each time, I gave her what she wanted, just to avoid problems. Then, everything changed one Sunday night. She didn't show up this time, so I was finally able to lock up and flip the sign to closed, then started cleaning up. Then out of nowhere, she came back. I kept telling her we were closed, but she wouldn't listen. That's when she started banging on the glass. Before I knew it, she bashed it in, sending shards of glass everywhere. She came at me, so I ran behind the counter. She then reached over and grabbed the containers of boba from the workstation, then started devouring it like a vile animal. I was cowering, feeling like I was hiding from a zombie eating a corpse. Then out of nowhere, I heard her collapse. I looked over, and she was on the floor not moving. I immediately called 911, and the cops came a few minutes later. An ambulance ended up taking her to the hospital. It was later revealed that she was such an insane boba addict that her entire digestive system was blocked up with tapioca pearls. Our regulars sometimes complain that the boba makes them constipated, but this woman was on a whole other level. I hope that woman never comes back. If I ever see her face again, I think I'll lose it. This story was inspired by a disturbing incident regarding a young female named Zhu Li, who was treated at a hospital after consuming too much of the popular sweet drink, also known as pearl milk tea or boba tea. The drink, originally from Taiwan, typically contains dozens of starchy pearl-like tapioca balls, which are notoriously difficult to digest. The constipated teen was taken to the hospital after complaining of severe stomach pain and told the doctor she hadn't been able to poo for 5 days. Dr. Zhang Lui ordered scans of the girl's stomach, which revealed vast quantities of undigested tapioca pearls, bulging up her entire digestive system. The medic estimated there had to be hundreds of the starchy spheres, which are the key ingredient to the famous boba drink. The girl, who only admitted to having 1 cup of the boba tea recently, was prescribed with laxatives to help flush them out. Dr. Zhang said she must have been hiding the true number of pearl milk tea she had. So many undigested tapioca balls can't all be from just 1 cup. She must have had quite a few over a short period. A chief of the hospital's emergency department also chimed in saying, "Bubble tea pearls are made using tapioca, which is already not easy to digest. Some companies add thickness such as gelatin to make the balls more al dente. Drinking too much bubble tea can easily lead to gastrointestinal dysfunction." I had a wife, kids, and a decent paying job. My wife was a nurse and worked nights, so I barely saw her. I'd get home from work around 6 p.m. and she'd leave at 7:30. Even though I didn't see much of her, we were still happy together. Well, I guess that's not entirely true. I've been secretly having an affair with my wife's cousin Lila. She started hanging around us to help with the kids, and after a while, I started to get close to her. Eventually, I couldn't control myself. She was younger, fitter, crazier, hotter, and she just happened to be around a lot more than my wife. She'd never had kids of her own, so being with her was like being a teenager again. She'd come over while my wife was working and the kids were asleep, and we'd sleep together. Being a part of the younger generation, Lila was a big fan of boba tea. She'd always come over with a drink for each of us, but before we even touched them, she'd rip my clothes off and we'd go at it. After 1 round, we'd recharge with the boba, then we'd go again. We would screw around like a rabbit all night, every night. Lila would even come visit me at work and bring me boba. That boba stuff was like her love language. The affair went on for years, and my wife never suspected a thing as far as I know. But I always wondered when everything would come crashing down on me. One night, while we were sitting in the late night cafe, having our second boba teas, Lila finally sprang the dreaded question on me.
Baby, don't you want to be with me permanently?
I mean, I would, but what about my wife?
God, I'm so sick of that bitch. Who does she think she is that she can keep getting in between us?
Lila, she's the mother of my children.
Then put a baby in me too.
Shut up. We can't talk like this. We have to stay a secret. Isn't it enough to ride me 4 times a day?
No, I want you 10 times, 20 times, more than the bobas in your bubble tea.
Hey, let go of me.
Never! I'll never let you go. Not until that bitch is gone. You belong to me now. I'm tired of being a side piece.
That's...
That's what? What do you have to say?
Hey, shopkeeper, can we use your bathroom?
That's what I thought.
I knew there was nothing I could do to satisfy Lila's obsession with me. I was all she ever thought or cared about, to the point that she despised my wife. Her own cousin. I was powerless to put a stop to our affair. As much as I refused to admit it, I was having the time of my life. That night, after we got banned from the boba shop for quote-unquote defiling their bathroom, as the owner put it, We did our usual routine. We defiled a cheap motel room, then we both went home separately. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about Lila. I wasn't sure if it was because of the freakout she had at the boba shop, but there was something about that encounter that gave me a sinking feeling in my stomach that I couldn't explain. When I woke up the next morning, my wife was already asleep in bed, and I knew she would be until she had to clock in for work. I had work myself, and felt too badly about the previous night to wake her up to say goodbye or, "I love you." I just let her sleep. At work, Lila came to visit as usual. After she rang me out in the supply closet, she left in a hurry. I wasn't sure why. She usually stuck around for a while, but I figured she had some errands to run. I didn't think anything about it. Then, I got a call that evening at 9 p.m. It was earth-shattering. My wife was dead. They said she had taken a drink that was gifted by some patients, then collapsed halfway through drinking it. Even though she was already in a hospital, they couldn't save her because she'd ingested a massive amount of poison. When they told me the type of drink she had was boba tea, I instantly knew who was responsible. Lila. I started to freak out. A million thoughts were running through my head in that moment. I had no time to process any amount of grief because the kids were already asleep, and Lila would be at my house in less than 2 hours. Panicking, I got in my car and drove to the nearest police station to tell them. I had an evil little voice in my head telling me to keep quiet and take the opportunity Lila was giving me to live my life with her permanently attached to me. A life of non-stop, unrestricted pleasure. But I had to think of my kids. I knew it would only be a matter of time before she saw them as obstacles and took them out too. With the information I gave to the police, Lila was arrested, yet it feels like far too late. I will live with this guilt forever. When my kids grow up to understand what I had to do with their mother's death, they'll never forgive me, and they never should.